me when we met several weeks ago now in my office. So, with that, I will let the team come off mute and ask you any questions or maybe share, any thoughts they have about your initial responses, and we'll just take it from there.
All right, great. I think before you speak, I think we have Colonel Vincent Beasley on here, Brian Watson, Pastor Campbell. We have several members of the team that's on here. So any of you guys feel like jumping in, let's just share. Go ahead and ask the questions. Glad to be here.
Good afternoon. Willie Slate here. It sounds like a really good opportunity for our youth, but let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Are you being focused on a given area? Or are you setting up, for lack of a better words, precincts all across Memphis? Are you trying to focus as an initial start on maybe a given area in terms of identification process?
Yes.
And if so, what kind of outreach are you proposing or to use in the areas? I'm trying to get a handle on this because we have, Memphis Shelby County Schools is extremely diverse. And in that process, we have a multiplicity of students all across the spectrum. And I'm trying to see, I know you want this to be an expansive model. And I'm trying to see if you're starting low, aiming high and dropping back. Just do you have a plan for implementation and rollout? Or is that what we're here to do this afternoon, to begin a thought process into how you would move forward in making sure that this reach those individuals that are, I guess for lack of a word, those that you really want to reach first and faster than most.
Yeah, we definitely have a clear plan. Matter of fact, we're just not in Shelby County. We've worked this since 2004 in 11 counties in West Tennessee. After COVID, we all kind of fell back. I continue to stay in touch with mayors and aldermen and other cities. But the thing that happened with, as you know, with most things, people don't get paid, they don't stick around. So because of my passion, even when I was in Michigan for over 20 years, if you're not vetted, you're not from Michigan, so you got to get through all that process. What happened with our planning was, because I've trained through FEMA here through, I became an officer of emergency management through Kenneth Brown. So I took the template right from Kenneth Brown for our youth cert training and how we did the youth cert training. We split whatever area up in fours. So I'm at Manassas already. I'm the Rotary Interact Advisor at Manassas. So I had a group that was ready. And so just that for a pilot, to see how we could kind of a proving ground for it, we started here in Manassas just working with ROTC, student government, and as we shared with the students and they shared with us, we came up with 26 youth out of this to build this initiative. And they're excited. And what they wanted to do that kind of made us go back to the wheel was we were going to just come out the gate talking about getting right on top of mitigation, preparedness, response, recovery. And we want to talk about floods, tornadoes, earthquakes, fires, snowstorms, that type of thing. And when the kids start sharing with us their fears just coming to school every day, and some of the things that parents are going through, and I was just asking, how many of you have a horse, a harness, a boat? Just asking different things. And there was only one kid in the whole room that said that his father had a boat, which he does. He has a pontoon boat and another boat. And I realized we're getting ahead of ourselves because I'm 60 years old. I'm thinking everybody kind of thinks properly like I think, but that's not the case. These young people, the number one thing they were concerned about is how to navigate people creating odds, not just being yourself. You don't have to do it. I don't like you because of whatever, whatever. So looking at the trauma that that produces, I was saying, before we really start doing floods, tornadoes, we got to deal with these ACEs. Because a lot of these kids, they're hyper with fear. Our goal is to reduce the fear. So our goal now, after we met with John Hopkins, Carl Hill, and John Hopkins University of Colonel Roy Ray with Family Youth Initiative, FYI, Rotary FYI, we said we're going to start with this well-being mental first aid, mental response. So now we met today with, like I said, 25 kids, and we're taking them to a training on November 9th to follow up on this John Hopkins, and these kids are being registered with Rotary Interact. And they wrote their own pieces, and they basically gave us the where we should start, how we should start. And they basically said, before you start asking folks, do they have a disaster plan? How about addressing some of the disasters that we're going through? So that's how we got on the page with Carl Hill and a lot of others that was here today in meeting. We're going to use Rotary here in the north area around Manassas. Heavy poverty stricken, a lot of apathy, and a lot of sickness for some of these kids and their grandparents. A lot of people are locked up. So a lot of these kids are basically on their own. When we heard this, of course, the principal was, Mr. Cooper was happy because he said, hey, G, this is going to really open up something. Yeah, it helps us, but more especially, it helps with the assessment when we're dealing with fights, we're dealing with issues from home. So we're starting right here in the home. We're going to split this area up in 4 quads between the community centers, the schools, and the churches to galvanize the people. Some of the people want to just, how can we help? We had to sit down and strategize what's going to be the best way to help. And before we go in talking to people, we want to build a rapport with them. And that's what the John Hopkins well-being needs assessment does. You build a rapport, because I can ask you, will you come help us do something, and you just lost your leg or you just lost a paycheck, whatever the situation is creating havoc in your life. So once we show the people we care about them, then I think they'll show the community they care.
Well, let me follow up with several questions. Now, you just raised more questions. I don't want to take up all the time, but I see where you're going. So if I'm following you, based on your preliminary rollout of your what I'm going to define as a leadership model, you have identified some strategies and best practices that can be used. In so doing, you also have a team that's ready to prepare or do the training for those individuals or young people who would become a part of your program.
Yes, ma'am.
Which that your program is really designed to address the causes. Most of the time, we're reactionary rather than proactive. So your model is designed to be proactive to address the causes rather than the symptoms, right?
Absolutely.
With that in mind, what would you see our role being in those particular quadrant areas you've defined? Are you looking at the schools to identify, or the counselors or whoever, teachers, leadership in schools, to identify those individual students who would, well, let me back up. My first question to this for you, is this a model that is gender free? In other words, males, females. So can anybody be this, or is this
age? This is age. We go from, because we do it on the basis of YC cert. It starts from 12 years old.
Okay. So it's an age-based piece. Now,
go ahead.
Okay. So back to my question now. If we look to how do we fit into this? We really don't know until we can get more specific details. But just as an orientation process, would you be how do you see recruitment? Let me use the word recruitment. Would you be looking at us identifying students via the various modalities that we could, whether it be leadership, teachers, counselors, churches, and all those different entities, community elements you've identified? Or would you be looking to provide a holistic kind of orientation and letting the students themselves volunteer to become a part of a process? Okay. How do you see? I guess I'm trying to see our functional role in terms of a buy-in to ensure that you are tapping or addressing that population of students that not only could benefit from it, but could also be identifiable role models in helping you to promulgate the whole process throughout a community. You know how we have we have some people who are strong, some youth who are stronger than others, and who are designed as leaders who could be identified to carry the mantra forth in their community, and other students and children, youth, whatever, let's say youth now because of the age range, really would look up to them as the ideal model to be following as you move through this process. And since you're bringing the church in, we're talking about home, school, and community connections. And most of the time, those identifiers would be the basis on which you would get youth. But there are also some youth we could miss because generally, when we talk about youth, we may not always identify because of their own reticence those students who really would probably benefit as much and may be able to do more. So I'm trying to get in my mind conceptually the game plan for recruitment. Is it our orientation process where all would be initially exposed and they themselves would say, hey, I like that, I want to be a part? Or you're looking for leadership in these various entities you define to identify students, or both? It could be both. I don't know. Just share with us your thoughts on that, please.
Is it Slate? Was Slate? Willie Slate. Hello? Is it Miss Slate? Okay, Miss Slate.
Yes, that's correct. SLATE, just like the blackboard. I'm sorry.
Here's the thing, Miss Slate. How do I say this? I say again, we with Clay. We're trying any method. If you say, hey, recruiting works, we'll do recruiting. We're doing everything now. We got, I'll let Brian Washington share with you our media blitz. We're getting ready for a door-to-door campaign. Anything that works, we're going to try it. Because right now, Pastor Cameron and a lot of the people on the PCCA, over 60-some pastors, asked me, I don't want to talk anymore. We went a while without having a meeting because we were strategizing. We're not just having meetings to have meetings. We wanted to put something concrete there. The people that we met with today, we met with 9 different entities. And those 9 entities we listened to, from the University of Memphis to the Rotary, Collierville Rotary, because they want to adopt this program. But again, just like you're saying, how do we go about doing it? Because they say, we got money, but we're too old to get out there and knock on doors, or we don't have familiar with the neighborhood. But what we found out in the neighborhoods, the people are waiting. We just hadn't tapped into them. The guy at my store, on the corner of my store, all the way around, I met with all of them, and it just changed. Our neighborhood really changed for it. We didn't have a flood or tornado, but just us getting together. We helped the guy with his pipe. They helped me with my plumbing, saved me over $1,100. That was just going door to door, asking, did you have a plan? So really and truly, what we've done now, if we can galvanize these schools, I want the school system to look at it like this. You got sports in every school, right? But those kids decide whether I want to play basketball, football, track. They get to choose what sport they want to do. Well, it's the same way with this. We look at emergency response, use CERT as a sport, a league, if you will. And what we do, there's some people, they don't want to deal with emergency. It's scary to them, but they don't mind checking up on the website. Or they may not want to do horse and harness, but they're avid boater. So we have to put the information out there. That's why we're on almost every media stream. Brian will share that with you in a moment. But the main thing we're trying to do, however we need to get it done, house by house, not overlooking anybody. It's going to take some time. But we want to know the people, reduce the fear about attacking these situations, head up, and tackling their situations. I'm the family engagement specialist here at Menendez High School. We just implemented a few strategies. We brought back 44 students that wouldn't even come to school just because we weren't afraid to knock on the door. And I'm not saying this for everybody. Now we got the block squad here. We have more visible people that show protection, correction, and affection to kids. So they're coming more. So what I'm saying in this day, Ms. Slate, if you have an idea, that's one of the best things one of the kids said in the meeting today. I feel like I have something to add. It's not already finished before I get here. We've only been technically meeting for 4 months. But we've been meeting for years. We were just on the wrong page. I've been with the PCC, Pentecostal Charismatic Church for North America, as a strategic planner for 12 years. And I told them maybe 4 years ago, I'm the youngest man here. You're not attracted to young people. Young people don't meet at Tuesday at 11:30. The people you need to meet aren't even nowhere near the table. So we work for Relay for Life. We work with all these entities that come to these meetings, but we have a problem with connecting to young people and empowering young people. We want to tell them what to do and do what I say do. They gave us so much information today that when the principal came back and we all sat down, we had a different view from just talking to the kids for 2 days. When we met with the female people from Atlanta and that came from Nashville, we weren't paying any attention. This is the largest group of African Americans in the United States that's trained here in Shelby County, because we was just trying to get the kids aware, and they said it from Nashville. We're the largest, not just the largest African American, but in the free world out here, we're the largest group because we trained over 37 people between Ripley and Dyersburg that are trained. We just had to bring them back in, retrain them so they can come in and train kids. So, like I say, I'm just a piece of the puzzle. I'm not all of what is done, but what I do know, I know we're heading in the right direction. And if we can get the school board to partner with us however you see fit. Now, I can't tell you what to do because I don't know all the ins and outs, but I do know Memphis Shelby County School had this in there. Sergeant Bobo, who's over the ROTC, told me he'll meet with me next week because he sees this as a vital part of ROTC. And it's not gender-based, so it doesn't matter. We got people that just joined on. They don't do anything in school. They don't play sports. They're not in the band or anything, but they love this. Their parents love this. Because we're sitting here talking about, we're going to take care of your grandparents. We're going to take care of people that are sick. We're working with some guys out of Moscow, Tennessee. You're talking about recruiting just on horse and harness. Do you know there's not a horse and harness team that if the lights go out, we're playing for 40 days. This guy said they were up in their community talking about it. If your vehicles don't work, you got to have horses. We don't have those connections. So we have to go out right now and make those connections. I don't know a whole lot about horse and harness, but I do know in the event of not having transportation or communication, we have to have a supplement, an alternative. So we're just working the best way. If you have a better way, you have a thought of a better way. It doesn't have to be a better way. If you just have a thought, we open and welcome to those thoughts.
Okay, you practically answered my question, so I'm going to make one comment and a recommendation. I'm always asking questions, but I do try to support wherever we can. You have identified Lieutenant Colonel Bobo, and certainly we're in the same department, and we could come together maybe with you all to just sit down
Yes.
and try to put in writing something that could be doable based on the areas that you have identified. You are breaking up. I don't know if I'm the only one having a problem. So some things I'm not hearing with great clarity, but I can follow you because I guess I'm following the process as well as trying to listen to you. So my recommendation on this end would be that you would probably need to, and I'm going to leave this to Miss Jordan, convene with myself and Lieutenant Colonel Bobo and perhaps some other members of our staffs uh, to see what we could come up with, maybe a viable plan that could be utilized. One that would have to, of course, get district approval, superintendent and all, but the viability of that plan to be an infusionary part of what you're proposing to do based on the regionality of where you want to go and how your zoning would be. Because I'm sure with the input of principals and counselors and general community people, we could define for you any number and group of youth who would be really, really benefited by what you're proposing. Especially, I particularly like that part where you're talking about not only building interpersonal relationships, but focusing on a Maslow's hierarchical need structure that will talk about me and self too, and how to address that. Looking at what causes a lot of this dysfunctionality, but more importantly, what this not the symptoms after they've happened, but this is a proactive model that I think that would really benefit our children in terms of their own physical well-being. I've gained something from you, which I have been suspect for a while. And that's the concept, and you put it very, very clearly, hyperness as it relates to fear, because it's just like you can't, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So what causes, what's the symptoms, what symptoms of, what are the causes? And most of the time when we develop models like this, we are focusing on symptoms and we don't look at cause. So I like the model, I like the design, and that would be my recommendation at this point. And I'm going to shut my mouth and let someone else talk.
And we appreciate it. Sometimes people don't want to talk. You have to talk for them. I want Brian Washington to jump in. He's a major part of our team. Brian just came over with a slogan. And Carl Hill and I working with Rotary FYI. We working with ACEs. We know the acronym is Adverse Childhood Experiences, but he said, Brother Lundy, God just put this in my spirit, and I got to share it with you guys because he had me hyped. He said, by God's grace, and he said with grace is God removing the aces for the races. And I'm saying that makes a lot of sense because a lot of fear is fed to us. A lot of white folks are afraid of us. A lot of black folks afraid of white folks. Mexicans afraid of black folks. They produces so much fear through the media. When you think about who produces the fear, who profits from the fear? Who profits from, my cousin just signed with a record label and he wasn't doing that. I said, man, you signed with the record label. He said, they don't want no positive message. They want garbage. They want you to get naked. They want you to say the worst thing about your mama and your sister to make it. But that also is a form of media fear. So I called on Mary Beth Conley, Alice Coleman, and Jet Lucas. If y'all know these people, Mary Beth and Jet on Channel 3, but I've been working with Jet Lucas a long time. And they're going to be our media accountability specialists. And what they're going to do while we're out here working with kids, because this is a wraparound approach, they're going to be putting together something to deal with the radio, television, and social media. What we're seeing, our kids can't handle every day you wake up, somebody's dying. So you're desensitizing them to even what gunplay is all about. That has to be rerouted. A lot of our thinking has to be redone and our education has to be re-educated. So here, our fights are going down. Why? Because we're meeting kids after school. We're doing restorative circles. We cannot get complacent on saying, well, these kids are basically through. That's the reason I say we're going to take community liability determining the community asset. But once they see a video on Channel 3 of us uh, cut down trees after a storm, uh, a boat costs $279. Just a regular aluminum boat with some oars. Might be more in some cases, different in other areas. But if you had 10 of those boats in any given neighborhood, you know how many lives you would save just with having a boat. And I got some guys from there that work on the river that's willing to train some of these guys how to operate a boat, how to get water out of your tank. And there's so many stuff that you could save lives. Even the knowledge that you can save the lives produces a great deal of confidence. And think about this. When we went to Katrina, I don't know how y'all remember this. I was with emergency management, volunteered. Some guys riding their bikes, looking for water and food, were shot and killed. I'm going to say this. We couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, they were shot and killed. You know why? Because people that have food, shelter, and have all of their generators, stuff like that, they also have ammunition to protect it. But if everybody have a plan, we don't have to think like that. And that's what we got to prevent. We got to have color-coded vets. If I'm from Memphis and Ripley, Tennessee, Brownsville, whatever, and we know we have to have an evacuation, especially being on these tectonic plates from the New Madrid's Fault. Again, it's all about how well we're connected. Who are the people in your neighborhood? The old Sesame Street song still ring clear. Because if you know the people in your neighborhood, you know what you could and could not do. Brian, anybody got any questions? Because I want Brian to get in here and Colonel Beasley. Brian, you available? I sent him the information. I think we had it mixed up. He went on the 22nd, but I think he's out working. I called him. Yeah. You're welcome, Brian. Colonel Beasley.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking your time to join us here. You all, I'm just concerned that so nothing starts off and it's an absolute success at the beginning. There's always some downfalls, some things we missed or whatever, you all. But we have to get it started because if we save just one child, then we've saved a ton. So we can't be worried about who, when, how many, whatever. We have to get out there and start doing it, you all, and teach our youth some skills and teach them some value in life. Teach them the things they need to know that's going to help our society. We talk about them. We talk about all the things that they do, and there's a golden opportunity, you all. So I understand we want it to be a success, a grand success. We don't want to have any downfalls when we start, but that is just not true. It never is. So everybody that's ever started any kind of program or business had shortcomings, had downfalls, but they got through it, y'all, and we build on it. But we can't make it it's not gonna be a complete success from day one. We're gonna have some issues. That's the beauty of it. That's how we grow it. When we find out what the problem is, we fix that problem, we move to the next problem. But we can't expect to hammer out all the problems before we get started. And so that's my say on it, you all. I appreciate you all on the call. I appreciate everyone joining in, you all. I'm just trying to save our community. That's all I want to do is save our community, save our youth. And we save our community by saving our youth. We save our youth by saving our community. We give them something positive to do. We give them accolades for the great things that they're doing, you all, and we let them know that they can overcome this too. Thank you.
Any more questions? This is not very complicated. Let me say that. If most of us, you think about most of us work in the school system, most of us work for the police department, most of us are servants, right? And whenever you got servants going, as long as they're focused on the mission and the purpose, I'll tell you this, I've been a part of a lot of things. I'm 60 years old. I've been a part of FEMA for 23 years. I've never seen anything of this magnitude move with so less challenges. It's moved phenomenal. We went to a couple of small towns throughout. We went from Martin, Lake County, Ripley, Halls, Brownsville, Jackson, Tennessee. And I tell you, matter of fact, it was Priscilla Sweeney from the Army Corps of Engineers said this, and I repeat this. She said, Mr. Galden, I'm very busy right now. She was responding to the Florida and some of the other things that was going on around the country because they had to respond. The coordinators, the buyers for whatever you need to get through a situation. But she said this, and I remember 6 months ago, she said, she was at my brother's house. She said, you know, FEMA's only going to take care of the infrastructure. Regular people are on their own. And here's the sad part about it. We couldn't do anything. We saw what it is not to have any individual plans during COVID. By not having a plan, we fell under somebody else's plan. And that was plan for us to stay put, stay out of people's way. And realistically, our kids are not going to do that. They're going to continue. But if we can train them now to start thinking about how the next person is doing, just start thinking about, because they don't have an avenue that causes them to think. I talked to some kids over the break, and I said, what did you do? I slept. Either play games or slept. I said, you didn't go visit none of your relatives. They don't do that anymore, guys. They don't eat dinner on Sundays. Go like we used to travel from my grandmama's house to my auntie house and different people back in the day. On Sundays, that was visit family day. Now it's, what is the greatest thing? I'm trying to stay out the way. I'm trying to stay out of the way. So when you start figuring people are trying to get away from each other instead of connecting, we got a real serious problem because we're only strong as how connected we are. And right now we're weak as water. And like we deal with a lot of real life situations with these kids. As Colonel Beasley said, do we have all the answers? No. I wouldn't be calling you if I had all the answers. I wouldn't be reaching out to the superintendent, because I don't want to go any further without the superintendent knowing what's going on and how do we shape it from your perspective. I don't want to go any further without having an MBPD perspective. I don't want to go no further without having both mayors' perspective, Boy Scouts perspective, Boys and Girls Club perspective. Because once we add all the pieces to this jigsaw puzzle together and we connect in love, I believe Brian said meeting 33 centimeters, the distance between your head and your heart. We got to get out of our head and get in our heart. Trust God through this process. And this is what this is. This is a process. Anybody got any questions? Well, there's a lot of silence. Is anybody here? Can you hear me?
I'm here.
Yes.
Yes, you can. You can. Thank
Well, okay.
Yes,
Anybody?
I'm here, but I'm actually having to transition to another meeting because this meeting ran over the allotted time. So if somebody can just put the next steps in the chat for me, I will happily do whatever follow-up is necessary.
Okay. Can I make a suggestion or recommendation?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to send out an invite to our next PCCNA in-person meeting. We serve a luncheon on Tuesday at 11 o'clock. If you can make it to that meeting, I'd like to see, if you can, some of your face-to-face. Like Terrence Riley, I'm familiar with Terrence. I've worked in the school system long enough. I've been knowing Terrence. I work with Sergeant Hill over here at Manassas. So he's been really pushing me to work with ROTC. I talked to several, what's his name? If I had thought of it, but he's been with Shelby County Schools security. And he's made some suggestions to me. And I'm saying, hey, man, y'all come out, bring out pencil, bring out clay. I don't care what you bring out. Just come with the idea that we love our people. We care enough to sacrifice to see these kids have understanding to save their lives and help us save some others. So if that's all being said, I'll send out an email to all of you. I appreciate you being on this call. Ms. Monica, I really appreciate you going above and beyond in this particular season to get back with us. I know it's a lot on the plate with Shelby County Schools, but I'm honored and I thank you all. Everybody on this call, you're not getting paid to talk to me, but God knows I appreciate you all. And again, remember Brother Leonard saying, I'm just a piece of the puzzle. This is wet clay. If you see where it needs to be shaped, start shaping. I'm finished with that.
Thank you so much, everybody. We look forward to hearing from you, and take care, everyone. Have a great afternoon.